Seeing is believing. Find out what Peter saw in this episode of 5 Minutes Closer. I'm Vaughn Weatherford, and this is 5 Minutes Closer. For the next 5 minutes, let's explore some biblical truths and apply them to your life. No podcast, including this one, can transform your life or give you what you really need. Only Jesus can do that. You can find out why in what I've called the first five episodes of 5 Minutes Closer. Each following episode explores scriptural truths that, if you follow them, will bring you 5 minutes closer to the person God created you to be. Let's see if we can get you 5 minutes closer. Practically nothing happens today that isn't captured on video. Every other business and home has a security camera, and everybody and their dog has a cell phone with a camera in it. This has led to a whole new process of the way the news cycle works. That's the way news organizations report the news. Back in the dark ages, news organizations were the only outlet for video. If there was a politician speaking somewhere, or a flood rescue, or a wreck on I-44, you had to wait to see it on the 6 o'clock news. Now, by the time the 6 o'clock news shows it, that video has already had 10 million hits on YouTube. There's a reason why that happens. We like to see it before we believe it. Seeing something with your own eyes cements the reality of what you've witnessed, and that was certainly the case for Peter. He saw a lot of things throughout the earthly ministry of Jesus, but one event stood out that defined the true identity of Christ. And that for Peter was the transfiguration. He describes it in 2 Peter chapter 1, verses 17 through 18. There the Bible says, "For when he received honor and glory from God the Father, and the voice was borne to him by the majestic glory, 'This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased.' We ourselves heard this very voice, born from heaven, for we were with him on the holy mountain." In the verses just prior to this passage, Peter has described how he and other disciples witnessed Jesus' miracles and teachings. One event, however, stood out in Peter's mind. That day when Jesus took some of his disciples up on a mountain, and they saw something they would never forget. The Gospel of Matthew records the event in Matthew chapter 17, verses 1 and 2. There the Bible says, "And after 6 days Jesus took with him Peter and James and John his brother, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. And he was transfigured before them, and his face shone like the sun, and his clothes became white as light." As Peter and the other disciples watched, they saw the glory of Christ revealed in a literal, physical way. They saw Moses and Elijah there with Jesus, revealing what was to come in his ministry. They could not escape that experience with any other understanding. The only thing that made sense was that Jesus indeed is the Messiah. It's no surprise when Jesus asked Peter who he was. Without hesitation, Peter told him, "You're the Christ, the Son of the living God." Peter knew it because Peter had seen it. Most of us have those experiences that are frozen in our memories. We can't forget them. Those old enough to remember, they know exactly where they were when they heard the news of the Kennedy assassination. Those who were alive at the time remember exactly where they were when they saw the reports of 9/11. Some things you never forget. Peter would never forget that day on the mountain when he saw Christ glorified. And he couldn't stop telling the news. He knew that Jesus was God's Son. We have that same news. You know what Jesus has done for you. If by chance you don't, you can, and you can find out in the first 5 episodes of 5 Minutes Closer. Don't let anything keep you from telling what you know about Jesus, because now you're 5 minutes closer. My prayer is that these 5 minutes have challenged you, inspired you, and caused you to consider applying God's message for your life from His Word. To find out more, visit our website at 5minutescloser.com. Join me next time to see if we can get you 5 minutes closer.